respectively junior high school kids. And they're offering up to $1,500 prize for the first and best of those videos to be produced. So if you have grandkids or any part of your extended family are in those appropriate age and class categories and in Sacramento County, because again it has to be a SMUD service area, then please, if they have any interest in working on or being enthusiastic about electric vehicles, this is a great project sponsored by SMUD, and I'll put this slide back up, and I have another one at the very end of our slide set highlighting the contact information at SMUD to get going in this. It should be a wonderful educational project, as well as a chance for the kids to actually earn some money for themselves and or for their schools. So again, this is a wonderful program that SMUD is just getting going. Does anybody have a birthday? Like, we all have birthdays, but anybody have a birthday this week?
My birthday's tomorrow.
Okay, so you are a winner. Come on up. These are illustrated books, and let's see, you can get one of them autographed by the author, or hey, you want to wave Tesla Man right there. There is the author illustrator, can autograph that for you. And he is selling copies of this book. The Tesla Man book is bilingual. So it's also a great learning aid for any of your family members that are taking Spanish in their school classes. Okay, where's Peter? Peter, you want to join me up here? This, coincidentally, is a very special time for SacEV and for electric vehicles in general. In October of 2011 was the first National Drive Electric Week. Now, electric vehicles had been around a bit before that, and SacEV had been around a bit before that. So, I want to ask, I think I know the answer here, but in our audience, who would you please stand up if you owned electric vehicles in the 1990s? No? Come on, Eugene.
Wait, George, did you own a 1990 electric vehicle?
In when?
Did you own one? Did you own a 1990 electric vehicle?
No, did you drive an electric vehicle? Not own, did you drive?
But it was a 98, but I drove it in 2001.
We'll let you stand up. But the real person is right there. Eugene, stand up. Eugene is one of our last remaining board member from the pre-production era. And Eugene is a driver of EV1 and other sort of compliance vehicles that were out in prototype stage in the 1990s, way before the rest of us got to be part of this electric vehicle culture. And it's to those people that we want to really extend a round of applause and thank you. And while I pick up what I dropped on the control system, let our president, Peter Mackin, welcome you.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. I guess this is the second meeting back from COVID. Closer to the mic. There we go. I just don't want to catch COVID from the mic. Okay. What's that? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I don't have a good voice too. Sorry. Anyway, welcome everyone. I guess we're going to have a fairly good set of presentations today. I'm not sure what we have on the agenda, because I had the agenda and then forgot it, but that's what happens when you're old. So I guess we have a small enough group. I think we could go around.
No, you don't have time.
You don't have time. Okay, so the boss says I don't have time. So anyway, well, welcome. That's all I need to say, and we'll kick it off with our first presentation.
And on behalf of Peter and the rest of the board, we do have a desperate need for more active members on the board. So if you have an interest in helping us promote and educate the local community in the awareness of electric vehicles, please contact either Peter or Eugene or myself or Robert, the other guy that was early on, or in the back of the room, Christina. All board members, you want to raise your hands, board members.
Yeah, George, there's sign-up sheets on the table over there. So if you're interested, sign up and circle what you want to help with. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Okay, can we have the next slide? So there's our plan agenda. I'm not sure if Danielle is here or CBRP. If she's not here, I'm going to have to apologize. Here's the Cbrp headlines. If you have an application in for the Cbrp, it has been refunded. So there will be money coming from that Cbrp project. If you are shopping for a new electric vehicle and an incentive is important to you, then do a Google search and check for the Cbrp qualifications and details. That program has been fully refunded and will be in full operation in the next couple of weeks. Robert?
Can you got the website, California?
I do not, because I was expecting her to show up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it should be up there. That's what's the acronym?
CBRP, what is that? Clean Vehicle Rebate Project. Clean Vehicle Rebate Project.
You got a good website.
I believe so, yeah. I mean, I'm not as familiar as I should be because I got 5 of those rebates. So I've exhausted completely my eligibility and then some. So my apologies to the rest of you, but I'm not in the pool anymore. Okay. So there.
Just to point out, the website is cleanvehiclerebate.org.
Cleanvehiclerebate.org is the technical address.
I'm sorry, vehicle rebate.
Rebate. Okay, and next slide. Just quick highlights to show you how widespread electrical vehicle adoption is. As of today, there was an announcement, Rolls-Royce is going to be doing a fully electric car. They already have it in prototype stage. Next. And our main speaker, who's going to update us on everything that is coming from BMW, directly from the major introduction at Munich in about a week or 10 days ago, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you very much, George, for inviting me today. Gene, congratulations. I knew you were one of the earliest along this year, but I was not aware.
Closer to the mic.
I was not aware that you started already in the 90s, so that's really early. Thanks for having me here. My name is Timo Schark. I'm with BMW North America here in the Sacramento office, Government and External Affairs, and I'm really pleased to be here tonight to give you an update on what happened during the IAA Munich just a few weeks ago, but also to give you an idea of why we do that, what has been on display during that Yeah, you certainly, I mean, if you are an EV enthusiast, you certainly know something about the BMW heritage, what we've done in the past years. And today, I think, is a very successful year for us, despite the COVID pandemic. So we are having 1 million electric vehicles sold by end of this year. So this is quite of an achievement. We started back in 2013 with the BMW i3, which you certainly know, and then a lot of other vehicles in between. And then I will come to this very vehicle a bit later. The iX will hit the market here next year. So this year we will have a lot of electrified vehicles on the road. But that's certainly not the end. Our goal is to have by 2023 13 all-electric vehicles on the road and 25 electrified in total. So that should then cover 90% of all our core segment where our customers sit, and that should be a really good and sufficient supply for them. So our goal is by 2030 to have 50% of all our vehicles worldwide only being all electric. Important to say is that this might vary from market to market. I'm hoping that California will certainly be one of the markets where you have a higher share, but there will certainly be other markets around the world where we then have a lower share of vehicles. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is just to give an idea. So basically in the middle, the all-new i4 and all-new iX here in the middle of the slide is hitting the market next year in the United States. And as you can see on the right-hand side of this slide, there is much more to come in the next year. So I cannot tell you all of that, but you can see there is the 5 Series all-electric, the 7 Series all-electric. And so I think that's really, you can really say BMW is bringing electromobility in the heart of the company. So what BMW is all about will be electrified in the very near future. Next slide, please. Yeah, I told you I wanted to give you an insight why we actually do this. I mean, you certainly know that we electrify not only BMW but every company because we need to tackle the greenhouse gas emissions and the climate change, right? So on the right-hand side, you can see our goal is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the life cycle of our vehicles by 50% until 2030. That's very significant because 70% of all our emissions of the whole life cycle of the vehicle come from that phase, from the use phase, certainly, because if you burn fuels, then you emit CO2. But also, we want to take into account in our sustainability strategy that we also address the rest of our emissions, which you can see here, which is production and, of course, supply. And you might know, or you might not know, but replacing an electric vehicle or replacing a conventional vehicle by an electric vehicle makes a huge difference in the production and the supply phase. Because of the huge battery and all the energy that has to go into the battery for production, you could certainly expect an increase of about 40% of greenhouse gas emissions compared to the same size conventional vehicle, because it's so energy intense to produce the battery. And we are counterfighting these effects. So you can see here on the left-hand side, we want to achieve a 20% reduction instead of a 40% increase of greenhouse gas emissions. And we think that in the long run, so taking into account all of these three aspects of greenhouse gas reduction, will certainly be the most sustainable and most successful way. Next slide, please. I just wanted to give you a heads up on this nice project because it's really happening here in California right now. So as I was speaking about the use phase of the vehicle, this project, Charge Forward, which we started together with PG&E some years ago, is now in the rollout phase. And the idea is pretty simple. As you can see on the left-hand side, there is the demand for charging and the supply is not necessarily in line. So people tend to, you might agree, people tend to charge when they come home. So that's certainly rather at the end of the day. So they get at work, come home, and then plug in their vehicle. But the most supply of renewable energy is certainly throughout the day, especially here in California where we have so much sun. And the idea of this project is that you bring together the demand of people who want to recharge their electric vehicle and the supply of renewable energy. So there's a bit of smart infrastructure behind. So when you plug in your vehicle, it sends kind of a request to the BMW bank, and the BMW bank at the same time is information from the utility, which is also a part of this project. So then the system behind can decide when is the best time during the day to recharge your vehicle. And the customer has a benefit because they can receive cash back. So it's not for the greater good, but it's actually for your own good. And the utilities like it because it takes some stress out of the grid. And I think in the long run, when we talk about millions and millions of electrified vehicles or electric vehicles on the road, this is certainly something that we should take a deeper look into. So if you want to, just look it up. It's started here in California, and we are just in the rollout phase this year and also next year. Next slide, please. Yeah, and this brings me to our latest news from Munich, from the International Auto Show in Munich. What you can see here is the next step of our corporate strategy. So as I mentioned before, we're not focusing only on electrified vehicles, but also we are taking really a lot of care of the rest of where our greenhouse gas emissions come from. And this BMW iVision Circular is supposed to embody every aspect of this. So it's under the kind of headline of rethink, reduce, reuse, and recycle. And it's supposed to show what's possible already today and what we will certainly see in BMW vehicles in the future. So it's kind of a new way to approach things. Design in this case does not only mean the car looks different, but it also means that you take a different look at the kind of development of the vehicle. Give you an example. If you are able to develop a vehicle that you can easily disassemble it when it comes to when it has reached the end of its life cycle, then you can certainly make way more out of the materials that went into the vehicle. And if you don't mix up the materials, because you can have the steel and the aluminum and all separated, it's way easier to feed it back into the cycle. Or when it comes to the interior, next slide please. Thinking about new interior materials. So today you usually have a seat coating, which consists of different layers of materials, fabrics, which is almost impossible to disassemble. If you find a new way, and you can seen some on the previous slide, if you take this into account as well, you don't need that much of raw materials going into the vehicle. And you can, with each and every of these steps, you can certainly reduce the impact on the environment and on greenhouse gas emissions. So that's why I'm showing you this. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the Mini Vision Urbanout. Mini has announced, I think last year already, that the brand wants to be or will be all electric in the early 30s. But this even goes in one step or a few steps further, because it's certainly nothing you would expect from Mini. Mini used to be a very compact and sporty vehicle, but this is supposed to give an idea of how we also think about addressing future mobility in urban areas. So this might be an idea how you can use and utilize your vehicle other than just driving around. But as you can see here, or maybe you get an impression, the space is versatile. All the surfaces have multi-purposes, and you can use them in different ways. And certainly, also this vehicle has all the ideas of new fabrics and new ways of assembling and disassembling it. Just to give an idea, this is something we are also thinking about in terms of how to not only reduce the impact in terms of environmental impact, but also to finally address the congestion issue. Next slide, please. Again, I was told there might be some motorcycle fans amongst you. So this is the latest announcement from the IAA from BMW Motorrad. This is also an all-electric scooter, just perfect for your commuting or cruising around in the city area. And this vehicle is the first of many more to follow vehicles from Motorrad in that size and that purpose. They will all be electric from now on. So I think that's also a good message. And the technology that goes into that scooter is certainly based on our experience, our knowledge we have gained during the past 15 decades from our automotive sector. Next slide, please. Yeah, these two vehicles were certainly the highlight of the IAA. You might have seen them already on the news. I put it here on the slide. If you are in Los Angeles and if you are interested, you can see these vehicles in our showroom in Los Angeles. Look it up at space.bmwusa.com. The vehicles are on display amongst other vehicles, and you can certainly talk with the product experts there. You can sit in and whatever you want to do. So that's an opportunity. Why we think that these vehicles are so important for us is because the BMW iX, the red one on the left-hand side, is size-wise, it's I would say BMW X5, so mid-size SUV, which is probably the most important and most successful model we have here in the United States. And the market for these vehicles and the demand for these vehicles is really big. Next slide, please. Just to give you an idea of the specs of this vehicle, you can read it faster than I can tell you. We think, we are convinced that this vehicle today is the perfect balance to meet the customer demand on the one hand and our sustainability approach on the other hand. So this vehicle is really supposed to have everything BMW is able to deliver today is in the vehicle. Not only that it's all electric, of course, but also in terms of connectivity features. So this is the first vehicle to have a 5G standard on board, so you can do a lot with the super fast internet connection. You can have 10 devices attached to the vehicle, so you can really kind of extend your home, your work, whatever you want to do into that vehicle. And yeah, it has the 5th generation of our BMW eDrive, which means it comes without any rare earth, and where we cannot, you still have to use some cobalt and lithium in the battery. We do that in direct sourcing, because you might have heard that the sourcing of these critical materials is sometimes under bad human conditions, and we say, no, this is not an option for us to make a trade-off between reducing emissions, but then creating other problems. Because sustainability is not only economic, but it's also societal and environmental. So we do direct sourcing. We do not source cobalt from mines in Congo, but we went to Morocco and to Australia. So there's no supply chain between. We do this really ourselves. Next slide, please. Yeah, and if you are BMW fans, then you will certainly recognize that this new BMW i4, which will, as well as the iX, hit the market Q1 next year, is what the brand BMW is all about. So it's a 4-door sedan, size of a 3 Series, very sporty, very dynamic, and still very luxurious. Exactly what our customers would expect from us. And both vehicles certainly come with the same approach of also using recycled materials. Also, for example, the iX has some foot mats in it made from fish nets, which we have out of the sea. This certainly you find here, and as well as the BMW eDrive, without the rare earth, sourcing cobalt and lithium from mines in Morocco and Australia. Well, I was supposed to stay within the 15 minutes. I think I made it. Thank you very much for your attention.
We have time for some questions.
Yeah, we have time for some questions. I'll be around, or we can do it right now.
So I'm interested in the all-power width charging that you talked about.
Sorry, I cannot hear you.
Sorry, I'm interested in the all-power width charging that you talked about. You know, when people charge in,
The charge forward.
at night, but as you point out, the sun is out during the day. Is that only going to be for BMW connected cars? Or, I mean, there's third-party systems like NLX that trade energy in a similar manner. Are you guys riding on the existing network, or have you built your own for this training? And is it proprietary to BMW?
Well, we started this project in, I think, 2017 already, so we had to use our own system, and we are developing this system further. It will be expanded in the future, but today you need to have a BMW vehicle, because it's not that simple. It's not that just the vehicle, or you plug it in and then that's it. There needs to be some communication between the infrastructure, the vehicle, but also on the utility side. So it's pretty complex system, and yeah, we are constantly working on that, but for the time being, it's for BMW customers only.
Yeah, I think the challenge for that here in California is that we restructured the power industry, separating generation, transmission, and distribution. And for those of us who are charging now, a distribution tariff sends us through 12 to 16 months. Whereas what you're saying, at the wholesale level, the California independent system operator sees power costing them to pay for other systems to take it off the California grid. I think that's what you're saying. At that point in time, you'd like to have electric cars ready to take it on.
Yeah, I mean, this might vary from utility to utility, right? But certainly you have the most renewables during the day. If your utility says our portfolio is different, they might have a different contract for you. It's not that it's only working this time of the day, but certainly everything is possible. It's just that you connect the supply from the utility and they know best what they have and the demand from the customers. And then the customer gets an incentive if they want to kind of use their vehicle as an extension of the grid. That's basically the idea behind it.
Are there any EVSE appliance manufacturers participating?
For the time being,
Yeah,
it's
like Clipper Creek is a
sorry.
Clipper Creek is an EVSE manufacturer here in Oakland, California.
Yeah.
And their technology is on the dump side, and you're asking for something pretty sophisticated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, for the time being, as I said, it needs to be a BMW vehicle, and we are trying to get as many utilities on board, but it's, I mean, you know that it's very difficult here because there are so many utilities which are not really interconnected. That's one of the big challenges, actually.
Yeah, I talked to the Mini people, and they told me that deliveries, I think it's the Mini E, right? They're out like 3 months. You know when that's going to speed up a little bit? Cars will be available.
I'm sorry, I cannot tell you anything about that. I mean, that's certainly you have to look into one single purchase. Sorry, I cannot tell you anything. All right, thank you. I will be here, so love to have any more questions or discussions later on. Thanks for having me.
Next slide. Again. Okay, next one. So, just again, some highlights. This wasn't exactly National Drive Electric Week, but 10 years and about 2 months ago was the first gathering and public sort of promotion of production electric vehicles. It anticipated by about 3 months National Drive Electric Week. My senior board member, and we're going to make him the nominal historian, Eugene Dunlap, was able to find these photos from the gathering where we had Nissan Leaf, Chevy Volt, and one Tesla Roadster show up. And we gotten permission from REI near Cal Expo for their parking lot to have this public presentation of production electric cars in June of 2011. And there were really 3 choices for electric cars in production: the Leaf, the extended range electric vehicle Chevrolet Volt, and fantasy vehicle out of the price budget of most people, the Tesla Roadster, which was starting back then at around $85,000 and ended up going up around $120,000 before it ended production. We have the next slide. So, again, the choices were very limited, but in 10 years, while some of us would have liked to have seen the rate of adoption and the enthusiasm from manufacturers richer than it is, it's still been amazing. Next slide. So I took these numbers from a handout that we have from SMUD in terms of the number of different models currently on the market. And really now, there's an electric vehicle for almost any application, although pickups are a little light, but we're going to be changing that. But in terms of vehicles, everything from the Solo to really large SUVs are now available. Next slide. Okay, real quick, come on, Gene, you're going to come up here for some of this. And one of the other things that has taken off in this last, particularly 5 or 6 years with COVID, and people wanting exercise and having electric technology, is the range of electric bicycles. Now, who's our RAD owner? Right here. Okay. And this represents a really sturdy commuter, solid transport everyday bike. His own burro. And again, these things are set up to be rock solid and reliable. The two over here, can we have the next slide? The green one is really a pretty good buy for an electric vehicle owner because these are both folding bikes and they really are easy to carry in the back of almost any car. That's why I have them. And I was looking for light because I'm not really lifting big things. As a runner, my philosophy was I only needed to be strong enough to pick up my running shoes one at a time. So basically, I'm going for light. The green one is a very affordable and similar spec to the orange one. The green one's 35 pounds. Runs at about 16 to 20 miles an hour. Those are the neat figures. And about 40 to 50 miles of real range, as is the orange one. But the orange one is 10 pounds lighter. And in bicycles, reducing weight goes up exponentially with money. So the orange one is twice as expensive as the green one, but it's half as expensive. It's half as expensive as a similarly spec bike was 5 years ago. It's $19.99, I just checked. I got those both by ordering them before they were in production. So I paid $700 for the green one and $1,300 for the orange one. But those prices are gone because, again, they had my money for 8 months before I saw the bikes. But these are some options. Eugene, next slide.
I was supposed to bring this bike here. It was promised by FedEx 10 days ago. I still haven't gotten it. So I brought something else that might be interesting here. A prototype of a helmet. Has a camera, has a turning signal, has a brake light, a front light, a camera in front, and a camera in back. So total safety for something if you're interested in technology and crazy things. Next slide.
How much is that?
Well, it's not production yet, so that's quite a bit.
Okay.
And again, in terms of sort of the transition vehicles, from electric bikes to the single-seat solo car. And everyone, the pizzas are courtesy of Electromechanica, the Solo company, sort of superordinate company that makes the Solo. If you didn't look at it, please, after we adjourn the regular session here, look closely. It's an attractive option for any of you still employed and needing a commuter vehicle. Some of us retired, essentially we don't need to commute. So if that had 2 seats, I guarantee you I would get it because I really would like to keep the miles down on my Tesla Model S. But right now, had I still been working, this would have been an excellent commuter car, because really all of us are commuting almost all the time with just one person in the vehicle. 100-mile range, 80 miles an hour. You didn't hit 80 in a parking lot, but it will do 80. Next slide. Now we come to the section for Eugene.
Next slide. And I just wanted to say one thing about that electric bike. It's a teaser basically to come to the next event. It has a drive shaft, no chain. So it's a little bit like a BMW. So I don't know, you hear a lot about the Ford 150. That's not their first electric pickup. Does anybody recognize this car? I mean, you know what it is. The Ford Ranger, yeah. This was my Ford Ranger. It came out about 1998. First it came out with lead acid batteries, and then they switched to nickel metal hydride batteries. So that's our setup. We're in it. And it has an AFCON charger. That was the plug before the J1772. On the other side, it had the EV1 inductive charger. Next slide. About 2 weeks ago, Ford had a Ford Drive TV event down in Pleasanton, so I went down there to look at the cars. They had two, in the morning they showed police vehicles, in the afternoon they showed the electric vehicles. This is their pickup, the Ford 150. And it's basically a frame. The top part that sits on this frame is just like the other cars. If you would look at the car on the screen and you don't look at it carefully, you could not tell the difference. If I remember correctly, it has two battery setups, an 80 kilowatt package and a commercial package that's larger, and they're a little hesitant to give out the numbers. This was our presenter, and we talked about the thing. Next slide. What I'm interested in, especially in electric vehicles, is how the next generation of electric vehicles can be used as a battery backup for housing. You know, I used to say, okay, with solar, you're going to put in a battery pack. Now I'm saying, hey, solar, very small battery pack, use your car as a backup. And that's what the Ford 150 really does. Up in the front, it has a whole bunch of 110 plugs. Next slide. Well, the slides those are the two vehicles that were available. They also have a transit that you can, that's electrified. Next one. So the way they do it with the Ford Lightning 150 is you're going to have an 80 amp charger, but it's going to be a J1772, so it's not going to come in through your CCS plug or, and when you need for the power of the house, it's going to be transferred internally in their truck and sent back out AC to the house. So you're going to have one box in the house that's going to be able to separate from the grid, and it's going to be used as a feed-in for your power from the truck. Next slide.
Yeah, just doing some other stuff.
Okay, George, just for fun, throwing in some pictures. Hopefully this one comes out. The Ford 150 will try to have here in November. They said they're going to have more pre-production models built, so hopefully they can show us one. Next slide. Next slide. George and I were over in Port Madero or somewhere when we looked at this Rivian, and they're building their cars for the market now, and supposedly delivery is any day now. Next slide. Okay. Next one.
Now that could be out of that section.
some of my slides out. Okay, thank you.
And one of the things that these electric bikes that fold have generated, sparked my recollection with that fancy helmet, is now there's a whole series of folding bike helmets that fold right down to make it easy to carry when you're carrying your folding bike in the back of your car. And again, some history, because again, this is our 10th anniversary of production cars. This month, I just got this 2 days ago, National Geographic. The cover article, "The revolution is here." The vehicle on the front is a Tesla Model 3, as typifying that revolution. And here are some highlights behind me that electric vehicles and electrification goes back longer than 2008 with the Tesla Roadster. The first electric motors around 1850. Actually earlier than that, 1859, rechargeable batteries. I mean, I was a physics major and I didn't know that. This is all lifted from, again, the article in National Geographic. But check these highlights. And it really isn't until the 1910 era that gasoline motors started overtaking steam and electric in popularity in the automobile industry. And it was just the onset of wonderfully aggressive oil companies versus the limited range of batteries back then. But by 1980, with the lithium-ion battery, things were changing. And we all know what's happened since then. So, the Toyota Prius, how many of us were Toyota Prius owners? Either then or now? Not that many. I thought it would have been more. I've had 2 Toyota Prius cars, 2004 and 2006. Many of us started there because the Prius made electrification at least marginally acceptable and not fearful. So for that, we should thank Toyota. But the way I describe it is Toyota set on its engineering butts since 2004 and really looked the wrong direction. And it's really unfortunate. Even though the numbers for 2021, Toyota will be the top-selling automobile company in the world by a significant margin over Volkswagen. Next slide. Okay, so coming, just over the horizon. For those of you looking for SUVs, the Cadillac Lyriq, the top-end one, sold out in the first 2 hours that they opened orders. It's beautiful. It's really gorgeous. GM can do good things when it wakes up. Next slide. And another company really moving to take over. And how many of you own Kia or Hyundai electric cars? And again, superb choices, value, engineering, and it's only getting better. I mean, I would almost credit this next series of cars from Hyundai and Kia as cutting edge at the front of the market. And here's a prize competition. What does Kia mean in, I guess it's Mandarin or Cantonese? Anybody know? So nobody wins that prize. It means beautiful. Not a bad choice for a car identity. Okay, next slide. So also, delivery starting next month, Lucid. Their first production cars were coming off the production line in Arizona last week. That's exciting. Eugene and I also went down to San Jose to look at the Lucid. And it's beautifully done. It's just marketing to a different territory than Tesla. Tesla is really pitching to a sports sedan. Lucid is pitching to a luxury sedan, a a more indulgent interior feel. That would be the distinction, at least as I see it right now. Next slide. Well, there's the history. It took quite a while for gas cars to take over. Next slide. Okay, can you switch to Guy's set of slides, and we'll call Guy up. We'll have this one up again. This is the SMUD slide for that video contest that I really hope everybody shares with their neighbors or anybody with kids in junior high, 7th, 8th, 9th. Guy, you want to come on up? So let me introduce Guy Hall. And if you ever want to see what a martyr looks like, this man is a martyr in terms of electric vehicles. It is his passion, it is his focus, it is what he draws all of the energy, almost, I'm sure, to wake up every day. He's on the National Electric Automobile Association board. He's past president of SacEV. He's active in several of the other community energy-related outreach organizations, and he's here to share with us the progress of electric vehicle adoption in California over the last few years. Guy Hall, welcome.
Before you go away, George, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
All right. George, back in about 1900.
I remember it well.
Mr. German spent the night in jail in New York City for doing what notable event?
Got the first speeding ticket.
First speeding ticket of any car, an electric car, first speeding ticket of any car. He did a blistering, how many miles, George?
I think it was either 15 or 20.
No, I think it was 12. A policeman on a bicycle chased him down, caught him, and he spent the night in jail.
Again, I remember that fondly, having been there. The reason I remember it is only because he asked me that like 5 years ago.
All right. George, we're so lucky to have George. So I'm going to take you back a little bit. But before I do that, I'm going to ask a forward question. So we've got to keep these two concepts in mind. You kind of know where we are with electric cars now, sort of. I'm going to ask, what number do you think we'll hit of electric cars in the Sacramento region by the end of the year? By the end of the year. Don't call it out yet. I don't want to let anybody get embarrassed. So we'll hit it at the end of this, but I'm going to look at where we started on these things. So,
Anything with a plug?
I'm sorry?
Anything with a plug?
Plug in, yeah, anything plug in. Do I control the slides or do I ask for help? Okay, I ask for help. All right, next slide. So this is where we were back when a year or so after the first Endu event. We were sharing how we were so excited that we had this many charging stations. They're all level 1 and level 2. But look at that number, that was incredible. They were all over the city. We were saying, Nirvana, we've arrived. We're there. Look at this. Well, wouldn't work today, would it? Next slide. If you look just at the fast chargers, 2 years later, 2 years later, 2014, we had a whole count of them. One hand. I remember when I first bought my 2011 Nissan Leaf, and I bought the fast charging for it. For 2 years, there wasn't one anywhere around. I thought it was a fool. Next slide, please. Look where we are now. Look at it. There are 100 plazas with fast charging. Not 100 chargers, 100 plazas in the Sacramento region. We gotta applaud that one, come on. We're not where we need to be, but heck of a accomplishment so far. Next slide. There's the number, folks. By the end of the year, we'll hit 50,000 electric cars in the Sacramento region. 50,000. We're doing a little bit over about a little over 1,000 EVs a month. So if you notice the number of cars on the road, it used to be easy when all you look for is a Nissan Leaf, maybe a Tesla Model S, or a Chevy Bolt. It used to be easy to spot them, but now they're all disguised as regular cars. So, but there are 50,000. We're about a month away from getting 50,000 cars on the street. So, I think that's a heck of an achievement, and that was achieved by the work that so many people in this room do, by coming out, educating their neighbors, educating the community, showing their cars, sharing their experience. I can't tell you how many people come to me afterward these events, or tell me they bought an electric car, and it was because they saw that one here at one of these events. So I think that's my last slide. This is actually one interesting one. The ones for this year, most of them are over 200-mile range apiece. It's not like 2010, 11, 12, 13. This is 200 miles range for more than half of these cars. So, what I'd like to do is ask everybody to look around the room and say thank you to everybody else for having come out to these kind of events over the last several years and making this as successful as it's been. Thank you. Oh, now come up here and tell me the specifics there. We did the children's books.
Yeah.
If you have a child at home, or you have an inner child, or you have a friend or a son that's got a young child, we're lucky enough in our area to have 2 authors for children's books about electric cars. Come on up, gentlemen.
Jorge, you still there?
Jorge's still here.
Yeah, Jorge, also, come on up. Recognize this? Yeah.
If you have a young child or a grandchild or niece or nephew that would be interested in this, raise your hand if you would. All right? Oh, I think I'd like them to be able to read. All right, come on up. And gentlemen, do you think you could sign? Absolutely. All right. So I think that it might be good to can you come and just say a word or two about. Do you have enough time, George, for that? Describe your books.
Yeah, let Jorge up first. We got like 3 minutes each.
3 minutes each.
We'll get out on time.
We're going to get the books.
We're missing one presenter, so we're filling. He came to me at the last minute, and I refused to put him on the agenda. I didn't think we had time.
Anyway, thank you very much for inviting me here. Over 8 years ago, I had the idea to come up with Tesla Man Fights Dirty, and here it means fights dirty pollution, pesticides, and so forth. And I came up with the initial sketches, and then when I was traveling in Bosnia-Herzegovina, I walked into a comic store, and I asked the guy, the owner who spoke English, fortunately, I asked him if he knew of any graphic artist that would be interested maybe in doing a more professional sketch or graphic work. And he referred me to Mimi Cortázar, which at first I thought was a woman, but that's his literary name. And anyway, we worked on it, and after 5.5 years, we had it printed. And in the first 7 months, we sold 800 copies. So it's been a good seller, and unfortunately, COVID stopped it. And implement this here to stop COVID.
And again, it's bilingual.
Exactly, yeah, we're trying to reach two different language groups, culture groups in English, and then you flip it around and it's in Spanish. So hopefully it'll also be a good learning tool to practice your Spanish.
Jorge is a retired Spanish professor from Sac State, another one of us senior professorial colleagues.
37 years there, enjoying it all the time.
He's a child compared to me.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
All right, thanks everybody. My name is Luis, and I live here in Carmichael. I actually took a job right about a year ago with an electric vehicle manufacturer that makes electric school buses. And Lion, exactly. And they have a center here in Sacramento. It's kind of their hub in the US, actually, especially in the West. I think we're supposed to have an electric bus here tonight. Guy went for it, and it might have been a Lion bus, but maybe one day we can have you guys at the Experience Center. We've got the electric buses there. We've got the Class 6 box truck that Amazon is starting to use now, and next year will be the refuse truck and some cool stuff. So maybe we can do that. But in doing that, I'm a former teacher. I actually had a career change because I geek out on energy, and so I started doing this and helping school districts with their infrastructure. Get their chargers, work with contractors and all that. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if these buses we delivered could also be used by teachers to help educate kids and take the kids for a ride in an electric vehicle and an electric bus. And so I kind of set to work writing something that would work for that. And what I ended up with was the Dragon-powered school bus, A Courageous Fight to Clean the Air. It stars a young boy, remarkably like my son, who is quite into these Dragon-style cards, and he excitedly shows his bus driver, Miss Leona, and realizes he's got asthma. And the smoke from her bus actually aggravates him. He has an asthma attack, and they wonder what can they do, and they hit upon an electric bus. And so they go convince the principal and then the school board. And kind of a touching scene there where we're protecting the vulnerable of society by doing this. And so was lucky enough to find an amazing illustrator, super talented guy who just made some amazing art for this. And it's barely 800 words, so I'd say it's appropriate for second grader, maybe a really sharp first grader up through fifth. And it just teaches some good lessons about the benefits of EVs, how we have to protect the air, and if you set your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. So I've got some information that I don't have any copies here, but you can buy it on Amazon, and I'll have some offered copies soon. So if you want to get my information, I'd be happy to sign something for you to send it if you'd like. But thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
In closing, some appreciation to our newsletter editors that put out the weekly electronic newsletters, Barbara and Robert. Robert went away. We don't think Barbara's here. Board members wear many hats, and Robert has picked up helping on the newsletter. And somewhere here, we have a photographer that's regularly been shooting photos, Johan, he was here a minute ago. Anyway, thank you, Johan. There we go. And always, our deepest appreciation to California Auto Museum for allowing us to use their facility, to be so flexible in setting up the parking lots for us. They are going to be our wonderful hosts for the next now 5 years on a promissory commitment. So this is such a day and night difference from squeezing into a boardroom that held 20 people, maybe. So thank you for the California Auto Museum staff. Mark Stegerwald, the director, has been wonderful to work with. And thank all of you for coming. And we will be out in 1 minute early.